Hello again. Welcome to the Shadowfire Promotions podcast. My name is Gregory Dennis. I am the president of Shadowfire Promotions. This is the 25th of July, 2015. This is going to be a little longer than our last podcast. Hopefully not as long as some brothers. We've been kind of regularly going over 2 hours. I'd like to kind of keep this thing for an hour, because not even Steve Austin, Chris Jericho, Bruce Buffer, none of those guys go over 2 hours. And I'm not necessarily sure a lot of people have the patience to listen to me yak for 2 hours, including me. Anyway, bad joke there. But no, seriously, there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I don't have the luxury of a studio or anything like that. This is all recorded at my office here, 316 Gimmick Street, if you will. But anyhow, so let's go on and talk to a couple of things. First off, let's talk about the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC. You know, a lot of people have been talking, oh, women's MMA, it's dying. There's no chance. Ronda Rousey is too dominant. The women's mixed martial arts is no good. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Yes, Ronda is dominant. And there's also been, for Ronda, there's been 8 fights in her division. Eight bouts that she's fought in. She already defeated Miesha Tate when she was in Strikeforce. She's got another undefeated in Betche Correa for this upcoming Saturday, I think. Let me turn to my trusty calendar here on the old computer and double check. Saturday, yes. Okay, so Saturday she goes against the undefeated Betche Correa to defend her belt once again. Another undefeated person, just like Kat Zingano was undefeated. And a lot of people say, oh, Ronda hasn't been tested in a cardio sense. Well, Ronda hasn't really had a chance to be tested in that cardio sense. You know, it's a lot like the old wrestling cliche, you don't get paid by the hour. There's absolutely no reason to let a fight go all 5 rounds or 4 rounds or, 3 or 2 or whatever, if you can finish it in 1 round. There's just not a reason to do such. So, we're going to see what happens, this Saturday in Brazil, I believe it is. Brazil, right? Brazil? Yeah, Brazil. Okay. So, continuing on from there, it seems like, Cyborg, Chris, I'm sorry, I don't know the last name. I get the last name wrong here, so I had to look it up real quick. Cyborg Justino. I always get the last name wrong, so I wanted to look it up here. Anyway, so it would appear that Cyborg has the intention of coming to Saturday's pay-per-view to pretty much heckle Ronda Rousey. She said to support Betche, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce it. I've heard the actual pronunciation is actual Betche. But yes, she is supposed to come there and she wants to support Betche because obviously they're both Brazilian. And Cyborg has been, bitching, if you will, about wanting to get Ronda in the octagon. And some people are going to say that it's Cyborg is desperately trying to stay relevant. Cyborg has failed a drug test in the past, and there are those that say that Cyborg should be drug-free if she is going to go and compete against Ronda and drop down to Ronda's weight class, the bantamweight level. To basically, here's the deal. As far as Ronda goes, for Ronda to go and meet Cyborg at a catchweight or any weight class other than bantamweight, the bottom line really is there's all risk and no reward for Ronda. You know, Ronda's a champ. Champ makes the rules. There's no reason whatsoever for Ronda to agree to a fight with Cyborg at any other weight class other than her own. And, you know, Cyborg makes noise, oh, Ronda won't fight me, Ronda won't fight me. And the bottom line still remains, drop down to Ronda's weight class and she'll fight you. You know, the fight's been going, but for a couple of years now, people have been talking about the fight. You know, would Cyborg beat Ronda? Would Ronda beat Cyborg? Bottom line, you know, there's money in the fight. There's clearly money in the fight, but Ronda's a champ. Champ makes the rules. You know, if Cyborg really wants it, she can go down to Ronda's weight class, but there's absolutely no reason whatsoever for Ronda to go and meet Cyborg at her weight class. Just no reason. And even if Cyborg goes and gets down to Ronda's weight class, even if Cyborg drops down to bantamweight, would or should Cyborg get that title fight right away? You know, should someone else get that rematch? There's never really been a rematch for anyone that Ronda's fought so far, short of technically Miesha Tate, who technically didn't get the rematch in the UFC. Technically, she got the rematch in the UFC from her time in Strikeforce, but it was never a, I fought you in the UFC once, now I'm fighting you in the UFC a second time. So the question would be, if Cyborg did indeed end up going down to Ronda's weight class, would she automatically be granted that fight, that championship fight right away with the pay-per-view, because the presumption is this would be a pay-per-view, and get that pay-per-view main event and all the pay-per-view dollars and everything, or would she go and have to work her way through someone else, whether it be Miesha Tate, Kat Zingano, Alexis Davis, or anyone else that she could fight, basically. You know, is she there? Would she just walk in and be granted that title shot? So that seems to be the big question. Would she be just granted a title shot just because it's been a long-awaited matchup, or should Cyborg have to go through someone else first? So should there be, let's say, a Ronda on top fighting someone, and undercard Cyborg versus Miesha Tate, Cyborg versus Kat Zingano, you know, someone else. You know, this isn't pro wrestling, you know, so, you know, do we run the risk of Ronda maybe potentially losing the title in the meantime just to go and fight Cyborg? Or do we go and have Ronda continue on while Cyborg goes and proves herself in the main UFC brand, the main UFC roster, fighting someone else? So this is going to be the big question. You know, right now Ronda's 11-0, and everyone says, yes, Ronda's never fought very much. You know, she's gone maybe, you know, just 5 minutes, maybe 3 rounds against Miesha Tate before. So she's lasted, you know, 10 minutes. Could she go all 5 rounds? Betche Korea, she's undefeated too. Well, Kat Zingano was undefeated before she fought Ronda too. But we'll see what happens. This is going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very good card overall, I think. I mean, they're going to have another women's fight on there. There's a lot of good matches on the card. Mauricio Shogun Rua, Antonio Nogueira. So it looks like there's a lot of other good fights in the card here. Just kind of briefly scanning the card. Stefan Struve is on the card. Antonio Silva is on the card. There's going to be some good fights, in general. This looks like it'll be a really fun thing. And the Ultimate Fighter Brazil is going to be some of the finals for Ultimate Fighter Brazil 4 are also going to be there. So Anderson Silva and Mauricio Shogun Rua are going to be there. So it's going to be in my opinion, it's going to be really a great fight. Excuse me, a great fight card all the way around. There's a lot to do now. What we kind of started off with saying women's MMA is dying. Ronda Rousey has no competition. All this and that. And the funny thing is this is exactly the same type of argument that we had 20 years ago with some guy that no one knew. What was his name? Some guy named Gracie, right? Oh yeah, Gracie. He's undefeated. Yeah, no one can ever beat this Gracie fella. And then Ken Shamrock took him all the way, and then Chemo took him all the way, and it doesn't matter that they won, that Hoist won. What's important is that kind of aura of invincibility was gone when someone took them to a hard fight. Chemo took him to a hard fight. Chemo lost, but he took him to a hard fight that Hoist couldn't go on in the next round. And Ken Shamrock took him all the way to the limit, and in the end, he looked great. People, even the commentary, Shamrock was terrific. Hoist is a mess. So, we talk about women's MMA, oh, it's dying, there's no true competition. Look, the Ultimate Fighting Championship has had 20 years since its debut in 1993, 1994, whichever year you choose. It's had more than 20 years to establish itself. It's gone through different incarnations from a single elimination tournament to different weight classes to what it is today with all these different weight classes and no more championship fights on top the super fights. So it's had more than 20 years to establish itself. Women's mixed martial arts, as far as the Ultimate Fighting Championship or even a Strike Force is concerned, has had way less than that. Way less. So for everyone that says, oh, it's done, there's no hope for women's mixed martial arts. Yeah, a lot of people said that for the men in mixed martial arts. There was no hope. Oh, Gracie, he'll retire everybody. He's just so good. There's no one that can ever beat him. It'll happen. At some point, it will happen. At some point, Ronda will go down. That's just a fact. This isn't pro wrestling. This isn't something that we can say, yeah, it's scripted that Ronda will lose at this thing. At some point, Ronda will likely lose. There's been a lot of guys that have gone through mixed martial arts that had undefeated records. Hoist Gracie was among them. Brock Lesnar had a great record, and he lost. And Brock Lesnar also handed a couple of guys, or at least one guy, a loss when he was in the Octagon before Brock went back to pro wrestling. And people say, well, Brock, he wasn't a good UFC. He's in fake wrestling. Yeah, well, if Brock didn't go down with diverticulitis, there's a very good chance that had Brock continued on, he may not have continued on as undefeated, but he could have had a very good career in mixed martial arts. But I think that, with his illness and everything, I think he just chose to do the safer route, and that's certainly his prerogative. But, for everyone that says women's MMA is done, there's no hope for mixed martial arts, women, there's just no one that wants to do it, it kind of reminds me of women in the infantry, except there's a big difference. When it comes to women in the infantry and women in combat, and we're talking about the military now, so I'm kind of drifting off to a little bit of current events here. Women want to do certain jobs, but I honestly do not know many women that really want to be infantry. They don't want to be foot soldiers. They don't want to do it. Some do, and that's great. If you want to, more power to you. But to sit there and say that we should be, we should be having them, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be having, you should let people do it if they want to do it. You shouldn't say mixed martial arts for women is dead because there's so few women that are in it. Give it time. The Ultimate Fighting Championship in mixed martial arts has had more than 20 years to establish itself. So until you give women's mixed martial arts that same time frame, then you can't say that it's dead, because it had 5 years, if that? Just the fact that there was a women's card on top, that a women's card headlined the UFC, is a big, big deal. That's a huge deal. That shows that women's mixed martial arts is on the rise. It's not dying. Is there a lot of competition? No, of course not. It's just starting. That's sitting there and saying, well, it didn't. It's kind of like it kind of reminds me a little bit of the music business today with boy bands. It's like, we're going to form a boy band. We're going to hold casting calls. We're going to get the guys. It doesn't matter if they sing well, as long as they look good, and girl band, kind of the Spice Girls saying, hey, if they can't sing, who cares, as long as they look hot. And we're going to put them together, and we're going to give them singing lessons and everything, and we're going to get them platinum records right out the gate. And then after 2 years, they all kind of go their own separate way, because they really had nothing going on for them. But that was what made them kind of going. That was what kind of made them famous, to be part of this boy band or this girl band or whatever. And, it kind of is like you're all going to hit a platinum record right out the gate. Kind of Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears or Justin Timberlake and NSYNC and all that. You all hit a platinum record right out the gate. You get one or two, the Backstreet Boys. You hit that platinum record right out the gate. We're going to get you a platinum record, one or, 2 platinums, 3 platinum albums back to back. And then it goes nowhere. It's like, yeah, that's great. But what's your longevity? What's your staying power? Because that really is going to be the measure. In 20 or 30 years, are people going to talk about you the same way they talk about Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Aretha Franklin, Carole King, the great songwriter? Give it a chance. You can't say that the women's MMA is dead because you haven't even given it a chance to fall on its face yet. It's barely gotten out of the gate. And you're saying, oh, it's done with, it's over. Give it a chance. Let's see what happens. It may be dead, but it might not be. There's a lot of women getting involved in mixed martial arts, and it's a lot different from the infantry, where, because ostensibly there's not really much of a chance of dying, and mixed martial arts is such a totally different thing. And I realize it's kind of apples and oranges to sit there and talk about women in the infantry and the military and be comparing it to women's mixed martial arts, but it's kind of sort of the same thing if you kind of look at it in a more like big picture sort of thing. So you'll kind of have to forgive me a little bit if it's not quite apples to apples with that. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and this is going to be such a great fight card, UFC 190. It's going to be so cool. It's going to be so badass. It really is. Anyway, so let's go to other things that are kind of in the news. Professional wrestling. SummerSlam, WWE SummerSlam, which is I think it was their second pay-per-view ever, was SummerSlam, and SummerSlam 2015 features the return of The Undertaker. Gong, gong. Yes, it is his first match since WrestleMania. It's his first SummerSlam since 2008, and he's going up against the Beast, the Machine, Brock Lesnar. Let me do it in Paul Heyman's way. Brock, my client, Brock Lesnar. So the question is going to be, okay, would The Undertaker get his win back against Brock at SummerSlam? Now, I saw something online that was very, very interesting, and now I thought, first off, that, yeah, of course, Undertaker's there to get his win back. Duh. But there was actually something that kind of was very interesting, actually. There was a couple of things here. Undertaker could get his win back, or there could be a couple other things that happen. Here's a couple other things I saw online. So, excuse me. So the first idea is that The Undertaker goes and joins with the McMahon's authority stable. I would personally be against that because Undertaker's had his time with the McMahon family when they did the corporate ministry and everything. And really, do we really need to continue on with this ridiculous authority booking? This is just so lazy and tired. This has been exactly the same, basically the same story with different players since, 1998? So we've had more than 5. So yeah, we've had over 10 years, closing in on 20, of basically the exact same storyline where the McMahons versus everyone else. I don't know about you all, I think it's boring to sit there and have the McMahons. We are going to screw we're the evil McMahon family, and this is our show, and we're going to screw the evil fan favorite, the evil, good guy. I am so tired of that. If there was ever a reason to turn off WWE programming, that would be it. Anyway, continuing on. So, there is a second suggestion that Undertaker could be a member of the Wyatt family, which is also kind of interesting. That actually has potential booking-wise. I could see that. There could be a no disqualification, or excuse me, there could be a disqualification where there is no ending, and which saves it for WrestleMania, because if Undertaker comes back for WrestleMania in Dallas, then he could get his win back, and it could be even bigger than him getting his win back at SummerSlam. So that's very interesting to me. That actually is probably more interesting than any other ending so far that is potentially available for Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar. So, now here we start to get fun. So, if Kane comes back as Kane the Demon, Kane the Destroyer, Kane, with a mask, with the big red machine, not the corporate Kane or the authority Kane or anything like that. Kane as he was, say 1998 Kane or something like that, even 2000 Kane. Basically, any version of Kane except the current one I could live with. If he went to help save his brother and the two of them go and beat the ever-living snot out of Brock Lesnar, that could be fun. And it could force Brock Lesnar to form potentially a tag team to go against the Brothers of Destruction at Survivor Series, because you really don't want to have Brock going and appearing on anything other than the major pay-per-views. WWE's got this big problem they've had it for years, where they have a pay-per-view basically every 3 weeks just to have one, and it's beginning to be a little watered down. Anyway, let's see. So, the other idea is that Sting makes an appearance. I'm not sure if it's going to be who it's going to be for, but it could be kind of interesting if Sting made an appearance, and then we could have Sting making go and fight Undertaker in the big, long-awaited matchup, Undertaker versus Sting. I'm torn. I'm torn on that one. As a fan, I'd love to see Undertaker versus Sting, but I think that is the match that probably should have been done about 10 years ago. Both men are well past their prime. I'm not necessarily sure if that match is going to be as great as it could be in 2015 or even early 2016 as it could have been, say, 2002, 2001, maybe shortly after World Championship Wrestling was bought out. That's probably when I would have liked to have seen it. I'm not sure if I'd like to see it now, just because I have more respect for both of those men, and I wouldn't want to see a bad match with them. So that's just me. So that's just me. I know there's a lot of people who probably say, no, man, Undertaker and Sting, that's the bomb. I'm torn. I'd love to see Undertaker and Sting, but I'm not necessarily sure if 2015 is the year to see Undertaker versus Sting. Anyway, moving onwards. So, Roddy Piper, his podcast on Podcast One is now gone. There's some controversy surrounding that. Allegedly, Steve Austin wasn't happy with the imitation that was done of him by Will Sasso. I heard the podcast, the podcast where Will Sasso was mimicking Steve Austin. I probably wouldn't have liked some of the stuff that was there. Piper, has his own perspective. Steve Austin has his perspective. Piper basically said Steve Austin complained, and he put it off, and Piper pulled it, or Podcast One pulled it, and Piper complained that he didn't want to work in an environment where he felt he was stifled. And they shortly thereafter left Podcast One. Steve Austin claims that he had nothing to do with Roddy Piper leaving Podcast One. Steve Austin claims that it was totally a mutual decision from Piper and Podcast One management. Allegedly, Piper is going to continue to do a podcast elsewhere. As far as Piper goes as a podcast host, Piper, having listened to a long streak of Roddy, because I kind of listen to the podcasts in streaks. You know, I'll get on one podcast and listen to a whole bunch of them, and then I'll go to another one and listen to a whole bunch of them. Piper has a tendency to be all over the place. As a host, as an interviewer, he really needs to be focused, I guess, is the word. He just really needs to be kind of put on target and say, okay, here's where you're going to go, you know, try not to deviate too far from it, because Piper's got that kind of bad habit of being all over the place. As far as Piper's co-host over the last couple of podcasts, Inappropriate Earl, if this guy had a stand-up comic, I would find it hard to believe that this guy is actually booked anywhere. Maybe I'm just lacking a sense of humor, but I don't see this guy as funny. I listen to him talk, and I'm like, are you deliberately trying to be devoid of a personality? Because if you are, you are doing a fantastic job at it. You are doing such an amazing job of lacking a personality, I can't even begin to tell you. Anyway, so, moving onwards, which is going to be a frequent theme here. Moving on. Tracy Brooks, the former Total Nonstop Action wrestler, has announced her retirement from pro wrestling. Well, I know of Tracy. I met Tracy a few times. I probably got off on the wrong foot with Tracy, but so be it. In any case, it's a shame that Tracy is retiring, because Tracy really didn't have a chance to wrestle a whole lot in the last couple of years with Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. From Miss Brooks, her time with Bobby Roode and everything else, I'm trying to think of any great matches that Tracy had, and she didn't. And that's not necessarily a knock on Tracy. That's more of a knock on management of Total Nonstop Action, saying, hey, you got someone who is actually a woman wrestler. She's a wrestler. She's been trained. She knows how to wrestle. Let her wrestle. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, management has decided that it was more important to go and have her as some sort of valet, manager, what have you, rather than wrestle. Why? I don't know. I don't claim to be that much in touch with it, but for whatever reason, management decided that they didn't want Tracy to wrestle, and I can honestly say I really haven't seen a lot of Tracy wrestling, so I can't say whether she was a great wrestler or not. I honestly haven't seen much of Tracy as a wrestler. I know she tried out to be a WWE diva and didn't make it. I know that, you know, she got the huge boobs and everything, which WWE is a big fan of. But in any case, she's retiring, and of course, all the talk about Tracy has nothing to do with, gee, you know, it would have been great if Tracy had wrestled or whatever. No, of course, all the talk has to do with Tracy's huge boobs. And it kind of perpetuates the stereotype that Vince McMahon of WWE loves, where he says the only good thing about female wrestlers are their boobs. And it's unfortunate that women in pro wrestling are basically seen as a walking set of boobs, because it can be so much more. But as long as people online are going to say, well, gee, Tracy Brooks, what a great set of boobs, and nothing about her. If I was Tracy, I'd be kind of disappointed that the only thing people are talking about is my boobs. But I'm not Tracy, so I don't know. I guess it's better than nothing, but I personally would be kind of offended by that. Anyway, it'd be nice if and I think, now Tracy is probably close to 40, so I mean she's a little up there as far as, a lot of the girls who are fitness models and who are 20 years old or whatever, and WWE age where they want them under 30. So with her being something around, I think she's like 38. Don't quote me, I don't know, I don't care. Don't email me about that because I don't care how old she actually is. I can look it up just as everyone else. I just don't care to. Anyway, she's a little on the old side as far as the way WWE likes their women, and she's probably retiring because, hey, she's discovered that, obviously she's trying to be a diva with total nonstop action, TNA wrestling, presumably on its last legs. She might not get many other chances in pro wrestling. So I guess she's taking what money she has. I think she's worked full-time in pro wrestling, so, maybe she's got enough money saved up that she can not have to have a day job. I don't know. Hopefully she finds something that makes her happy. Anyway, in pro wrestling, more wrestling, we talked a little bit about The Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Brock Lesnar, or as Paul Heyman might say, Brock Lesnar, my client, Brock Lesnar. Now, people talking about like their dream match with Brock Lesnar and everything. What I would like to see, we talked earlier about if Kane went and reunited with Undertaker to go and wrestle Brock. Now, wouldn't it be something if Kane went in a match with Brock? Not corporate Kane, not the authorities, Kane, but Kane. The big red machine, Kane. The Kane we know from a couple of years back before he pretty much got emasculated and castrated and everything else as his current role on television. But have the big red machine versus Brock. I don't think Brock ever wrestled Kane. And that, if Kane went and was booked to resume, the put on the mask and everything and did all of his old stuff, that could be a hell of a match, and that could maybe headline a pay-per-view. Maybe not a WrestleMania, but maybe a minor pay-per-view. It would be kind of interesting to see. Anyhow, because Kane really has been emasculated the last couple of years, being the character that he is. So it would be very interesting to see what Kane, the big red machine with the mask and everything, could do if he came back and was a monster once again. So we're getting towards the end here. NXT, WWE NXT. The NXT brand is slowly becoming just another brand of WWE. It's falling into the category of the ECW brand and the WCW brand that was in the Invasion. It's just kind of another brand. Hey, this is NXT. It's here. No big deal. Just another brand. Couple wrestlers here and there. We might call this guy an NXT guy, just the way we called the WCW guy or an ECW. It's no big deal. It's just NXT. Nothing important. Just move on. And obviously, NXT is never promoted, as in their show is never promoted on WWE television. They don't say, hey, catch NXT on the WWE Network. And again, it's slowly just becoming yet another brand. Ho-hum. NXT, WCW, ECW, it's all just another brand. WWE, it's all part of the same thing. It's nothing important. Don't bother to look for it on the network. It's just another brand. And I mentioned a couple of shows ago that there's that temptation for WWE to make NXT just another brand and say, hey, this is just another brand, instead of keeping it where it is, being that kind of farm league, the place where people can go and get that experience in front of an audience. And basically use it as that sort of breeding ground, if you will. But WWE wants to make money off of it, and they're not making enough money with it being just a training ground, because as has been shown when they use Heartland Wrestling and Ohio Valley Wrestling and all those others, WWE just doesn't see the value in having a farm league. You're either, they'll pluck you from another federation when you're fully trained. They don't have a problem with basically doing what they've done since the early 1980s, which is plucking talent once it's fully formed and bringing them up and saying, okay, now that you've learned, the basics and everything, now we're going to teach you how to wrestle WWE style, and you're going to be a WWE superstar, and we're going to ignore everything you've done in the past and treat you like a rookie all over again. They don't have a problem with that because someone else is footing the bill, so to speak, for you to train. But for them, it's like, why do we want to spend money on having a farm league and doing that and teaching people when we can just have other independent promotions do it? But they also kind of shoot themselves in the foot because they also say, well, we don't want independent wrestlers because, they got their baggage and they're independent wrestlers and they come with their own fan base, and these are guys that aren't going to fill arenas and this and that. So, they contradict themselves often. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do. But seeing as how they don't ever talk about NXT other than saying, oh, this guy is the NXT champion or whatever, within the case of Kevin Owens, I would like to see them do more. But again, I don't see it happening because WWE seems more interested in having NXT being just another brand on WWE programming, much like WCW, ECW, all of that. They're much more interested in saying, hey, let's let this brand make money for us, because they do a lot of jumping the gun, so to speak, in that respect. So it would be nice, but it's probably not going to happen. So there was World Championship Wrestling. As long as we're kind of talking about that a little bit. Yes, the WCW was mismanaged, and, WWE, and neither WWE or World Championship Wrestling, neither program really used all the resources the best they could, but to make Vince McMahon out as this genius who never makes a mistake and is just this great person and everything he touches turns to gold is more than a little misleading, because it's not accurate for one, but it's misleading to another. I mean, first off, it's not always run with what's best for business. It's run with what Vince McMahon wants, because it's Vince McMahon's company. So when Vince is left to his own devices, he wants to do the authority where it's, him versus everyone else, because that's what he's known for the past 20 years, and it's a great storyline. It doesn't, the main, everyone else is kind of interchangeable because he's always there. So you're guaranteed a storyline because it doesn't matter who comes, who goes. There's always the McMahon family. And you have these huge bodies because Vince just loves big bodies. And silly gimmicks. It's been toned down somewhat over the years, but there's some. I mean, there are some silly names, to be sure. Dolph Ziggler comes to mind. But, the emphasis has always been on the show and, making things bigger and, more glitz and everything, and less on the ability in the ring, has been shown with the Divas division. Hey, here's a fitness model. Hey, she looks terrific. Can she do anything in the ring? Of course she can't, but hell, she's gorgeous and's got big boobs. What more can you ask for? It's like a wrestling fan's dream, right? Because every wrestling fan doesn't want to, no wrestling fan wants to see like Medusa Michelli or Natalie Neidhart or anything like that. No, they want to see a girl with big boobs that can't work a match and can't walk and chew gum at the same time. That actually brings me to something funny that I saw on the Shadowfire Promotions Facebook page, which is facebook.com/SFPINC Chicago. So make sure you check it out. SFP, like Shadowfire Promotions. So, longtime friend of ours, R.H. Rusev, has given us the ranking. Wade Keller and Dave Meltzer have their own star ratings for matches. So R.H. Rusev has his own rankings, and they are called phantasmagoric. That is the bottom of the scale. And his definition, phantasmagoric means something that can only be conceived of in the unconscious mind of dreams. No sane or rational person should be able to grasp just how bad the worker is. This applies to very, very few performers or performances. This is something that cannot be imagined nor comprehended by mortal men. This is what hell must actually be like. Eva Marie, wrestling as a total diva, certainly qualifies. Only one wrestling card was so bad to make this list. NWO sold out. Next up is an abomination. An abomination is something that the conscious mind can conceive of, but is instantly repelled by how horrific it is. The performance is not only substandard, but it is bad to such a degree that moral outrage should arise at seeing it. Eva Marie is currently working this level. Booking that reaches the abomination level include putting Vince Russo over as heavyweight champ, pretty much anything Vince Russo did in WCW World Championship Wrestling, putting AJ Styles in a turkey suit to be mocked by TNA fans, total non-stop action wrestling. I would advise pitchforks and torches at these two levels. Pretty harsh, right? Pitchforks and torches. Then we get to mere atrocity. Mere atrocity. So it's only an atrocity. Mere atrocity. This is an offense against wrestling, sports entertainment, or merely anyone watching. This should raise the ire of anyone involved and even spark some seated indignation, but physical intervention is unnecessary. Think of Ryback in the ring. Think Ryback on the mic, with rare exceptions. Think Chris Masters. Think any of the nameless, faceless WWE bodybuilders who have failed over the years. Think the Divas division, with very few exceptions. Think Katie Vick. Now we're at Freak Show. This is where we get so bad it becomes fun again. It's something that we should all mock but not condemn morally. It's not so much an offense as it is a puzzlement. It's so bad that it once again is something we should not expect, but it's actually kind of funny. Think of the Big Show and Eric Rowan Stairs match. These were laugh-out-loud moments. Think of Steiner Mania moments. Think Jumpin' Jeff Farmer's famous promo. These were all clips. Go and look them up on YouTube. Steiner Mania is pretty much a collection of Scott Steiner promos where no one really knows what Scott Steiner is saying. I'm sure Scott himself probably doesn't even know, but for a guy who was educated at University of Michigan, sometimes I wonder what the hell he's saying, and I'm wondering what the hell his degree was in. Next comes failure. This is where companies go out of business. Think of NWO Wolfpack versus NWO Hollywood. Think the booking of World Championship Wrestling Bret Hart. Think of the invasion angle, WWE versus WCW. These are things that render a product unwatchable. Think War Games 2000. Think Feast or Fired. Think Hulk Hogan from the NWO Split On. Irritant is the next level. This is something that gets under our skin and makes us want to change the channel, but we may not take it that far. Think Michael Cole commentary. Think The Miz. Think Eric Young for the most part in total non-stop action. Think Kane with his bad acting as part of The Authority. Think The Authority with random exceptional promo. Think John Cena promo again with exceptions. Think Adam Rose. Think Honky Tonk Man, pre-heel. Then we get to disappointments. These are things we just wish was better but let us down. Randy Orton is often a disappointment. The Nexus was clearly a disappointment. The first championship run of CM Punk fell to this level through no fault of his own, and Bret Hart's second to last WWE championship run fell here, again, through no fault of his own. Seth Rollins' championship run is clearly a disappointment, shockingly though, no fault of his own. When we're bored, we're at meh. It's not bad enough to have much of an opinion about, but it's not good enough to care about. A lot of Cena's career falls here. It's not exactly sucky, but there's nothing good to say about it. This is the traditional spot of the WWE, and it can get better or worse from here. It's just kind of bland, kind of vanilla, and kind of stripped of all that we like. So that was a lot of fun to actually read through, because some of that stuff is really laugh out loud, and I kind of had to take a few pauses here to not laugh out loud at some of this stuff, because it is pretty funny. There was an op-ed piece. I'm not going to read it because it's very long. But it basically talked about how Vince McMahon is 70 years old and not in touch with his the prime fan base, his targeted audience, and wants to have his hands in everything, and doesn't let the experts that he hires, people that come from ESPN and all sorts of mainstream companies, whether it's the NFL, ESPN, or other places, do their thing, do what they do best, because he basically insists on doing things his way, because it's WWE and it's his sandbox, and he has the box and the sand and everything else, so he can kind of do things his way. And he's got McMahon, on whether you like it or not, he's got a lot of pull, he's got a lot of sway, because he's done it this way for so long. He's the last wrestling promoter of any size, left. Raw consistently pulls in big numbers. He's got the WrestleMania brand, he's got the Raw, he's got SmackDown, all this stuff. But there's a lot of stuff where he could do better. If he didn't want to have his hands in every single thing and allowed people to have an opinion otherwise, there might be a chance. And the basic, at the end, the opinion was that at the end of the day, McMahon is a wrestling promoter, so he wants to be here and now. What is a big wrestling thing? What's the big deal today? The big show tonight for the big audience tonight. Who cares about long term? It's all about tonight. And how McMahon wants desperately to be an entertainment impresario, much like Walt Disney. He kind of fancies himself like a Walt Disney, but in the end, he's still a pro wrestling promoter, and it is that pro wrestling promoter title that gets McMahon that gets him basically ignored, if you will, because they, ignored the way he does business because, he's a pro wrestling promoter in the end. So no one pays attention to things because they say, oh, he's just a pro wrestling promoter. So no one everyone says, oh, he does great. It's all these great TV shows and WrestleMania and all this, but even WrestleMania, something that was brought up was that, WrestleMania, which was this huge thing, is now basically free if you're on WWE Network, or if you're within that time window, if you sign up within that time window, or you can get it for $10 a month. So even WrestleMania is now kind of dumbed down because you can get on the network. You can get everything on the network now, and the network could have gone a lot of different ways, and they could have done things differently. But again, Vince McMahon insists on having his hands in every single aspect of the product, good, bad, or otherwise. And in a lot of cases, that hurts the product in the end. Vince McMahon refuses to let other people offer any suggestions because the only way to do things is the WWE way. And that's really been the way that the company has operated. You wrestled a WWE style when you came, even in the days of territories. You came there and nothing mattered what you did before. Now you're in WWE, it's a different thing. What you did in the past doesn't matter. We're not going to acknowledge any championships from any other territories or anything else. You basically entered WWE as a rookie. They're a little better about it now because they kind of have to, because fans are smarter and aren't going to buy into the fact that this guy's kind of walked off the street and, became a WWE superstar. But in the end, WWE still doesn't like to acknowledge anything else. And as far as television goes, well, television ratings are important. It's important when you're talking about buying, having the station pay to air your product. So yeah, there's some importance in television. Television is not the be-all, end-all of things. There's a lot of everything else, and television, the television product is probably the most important thing right now for WWE at least, because that's their big moneymaker. But there's other things, again. There's the WWE Network that they should be hyping. There's it's not pay-per-views anymore, but they should be hyping their pay-per-views, the specials on the network. All that stuff should be taken into account. Merchandise sales should be taken into account. All these things should be taken into account, and they all make money. So, anyway, let's see. Where else have we got to go today? So, yeah, WWE is pushing their network, which is great. I hope it does well. I personally think, just based on my business model, that there's a lot of stuff that's not in WWE. They're going to push certain things, mostly the pay-per-views, NXT. I personally think that truly on demand is going to be the videos and the DVDs, the classic stuff, which we have. What a coincidence. That's right, Shadowfire Promotions has all the classic Coliseum home videos. Go figure. Wow, what a coincidence. And I bet that if you emailed orders at sfpinchicago.com and asked for something, I bet we probably have it. Because realistically, short of the WWE Network, we probably have the largest video library there is out there. I truly believe that. Between WWE, World Championship Wrestling, some NWA territories, independents, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, Pride Fighting Championship, King of the Cage, all this stuff. We just have a huge library of stuff, and a lot of stuff WWE doesn't have. It's all commercial original, so this is the exact same stuff you'd find in a store. There's no dubs, there's no tape trading, none of that nonsense, where you don't know what you're getting. What you're getting is going to be the original tape, just so you get it in the store, and it's going to be good quality because it's all screened before it's offered for sale. So if it isn't something that someone here would say, I want this in my product, if it's something that is crap, that's not going to be offered for sale. It's that simple. If it's something that a reasonable person would say, I want this in my collection, and it's good enough quality to have in my collection, then it's going to be offered for sale. It's that simple, really. Anyway, so we're talking about merchandise. So let's continue on talking about merchandise. We've got programs from the Cauliflower Alley Club. Now, the Cauliflower Alley Club, the Ring of Friendship, if you are even remotely involved in the wrestling industry, you should be a member of the Cauliflower Alley Club. I'm a life member of the Cauliflower Alley Club, and I just this last year, April I think, went to their reunion for the first time since joining the CAC. When did I join? Gosh, a couple of years back I joined, and I became a life member last year. And I was nudged. I don't want to say pushed. It's a bad connotation, but I was kind of nudged in the direction of attending a reunion, and I just didn't have the time or the money until this last year. But I went. It was a fabulous experience. You meet so many people, you do so many different things. It's just a wonderful experience. If you get a chance to go to Vegas, go to Vegas. Go to Vegas. Go to the reunion. I saw what I was missing all these years. I'm definitely headed back to Vegas in 2016. You're definitely going to see Shadowfire Promotions there. Maybe I'll get a chance to do a live podcast with someone. I didn't get a chance there. We had a long-awaited show, the post-show wrap-up. Maybe I can do a little more this next year. But wonderful experience. In any case, wonderful, wonderful experience. So if you're even remotely involved in wrestling, just join the CAC. There are so many wrestlers that are a part of it, and you should be too. It does great things for pro wrestlers. It's a benevolent organization. It helps out a lot of the old guys that didn't have the health insurance. They don't have the money. Guys, when you have those injuries at 20 and 30, it's one thing to have bad knees and a bad back, but it really starts meaning something when you're 60 and 70. I remember I was talking with Larry the Axe Hennig, and he said, I got a bad back, I got a bad neck, bad knees, bad, my shoulder, and he's just kind of reciting off a litany of all of his old injuries, and the CAC is going to try and help him, and they're helping Nick Bockwinkel, and the baloney blowout they have has been renamed the Bockwinkel blowout because Nick Bockwinkel, who is 70-something himself. How old is Nick Bockwinkel? Just give me a second here while we look up something. Nick Bockwinkel is got to be in his 70s. He can't pile. Okay, so he's 80. He's actually 80. So Nick Bockwinkel is he is 80. He'll be 81 this December. And Nick, I've understood, is not doing so well, and that's, they're going to try and help him, and Harley Race isn't doing so well, and, when you get up there, 70, 80, all those old injuries, they catch up with you. And it's a good thing that the Cauliflower Alley Club does. entirely dependent on the donations, the benevolent fund, your donations there. We've got exclusive Cully for Arley Club Chuck Taylors, Converse Chuck Taylors. They are wonderful shoes, and a portion of the profits of those shoes go straight back to the Cauliflower Alley Club. They're, you'll have to excuse me, I don't have my numbers in front of me. We do have a pair of them. Email us at orders@sfpinchicago.com because I do not have my numbers in front of me as far as what the cost is or what the size is, so you're going to have to email me about that because I just don't know, and I'm sorry for that, but I don't have all my stuff in front of me here. It would be just impossible, so a lot of it's you're going to have to email about. We have the Brian Pillman Memorial Show on VHS. That's a 5-tape set. It's $60. It has some future WWE stars, some present WWE stars. It stars World Championship Wrestling, ECW Extreme Championship Wrestling. And besides being kind of the first show of its kind, what's really important about it is that it has everyone kind of all together. You know, they're not wrestling each other, mind you, but it's the first show where you have WCW and WWE, WWF wrestlers on the same card. So that's a big historic thing. We've got a lot of great classic Ultimate Fighting Championship, the original UFC from the Art Davie days. We've got all that on VHS. We got some old school UFC on DVD back when they were still in single digits. We even have, double digits rather, because none of their single digit stuff is on DVD, which is basically 1 to 10. I'm not going to find any of that on DVD. We've got a lot of vintage Ultimate Fighting Championship, a lot of early stuff, 50, 60, 70, a lot of that stuff. We've got some very early Ring of Honor, a lot of good stuff. From there, got a big collection of European media. If you're a fan of ours and you're in Europe, we got a lot of Region 2, Region 4 stuff. So emails for that. Again, the email address is orders@sfp, like Shadowfire Promotions, at incchicago.com. So orders@sfpinchicago.com. So, let's see, what else we have? What other good stuff? Oh, yes, Hitman Hart. You've seen Hitman Hart. Hopefully, by this time, you've seen Hitman Hart on VHS. We still do have a couple of VHS copies left that have the exclusive booklet that you will only find with the Canadian release. We have the Hitman Hart soundtrack. Yes, there was a soundtrack to it, too. We also have the Hitman Hart Special Edition DVD. With that DVD, we also have Hitman Hart posters. These are lobby posters. These are the original posters created from the original mold. I don't know, the original design that comes from, I'm not sure what the right word is. Maybe someone can help me out with this. But they are printed from the exact same template of the posters that hung in theaters across Canada when this was in Canada. So we have the original and the 10th anniversary edition posters. So, and these posters are exclusive to Shadowfire Promotions, so you're not going to find the posters anywhere else. So get them here, get them from us. Email me at orders@sfpinchicago.com. I know there is free shipping in the U.S. on these things, which is a great deal because you're going to get a pretty big packet, 2 posters plus the DVD, 2 DVDs, 2 posters. So that's a pretty good deal there. So make sure you email orders@sfpinchicago.com. Pick that up. Let's see, anything else merch-wise that we got here that's really stupendous standout kind of thing? A lot of old classic Coliseum video. Lots of good stuff here. A lot of books, music, movies that are not necessarily wrestling related. So yeah, you can email, find out what we have. We're in the midst of getting a new catalog printed out. So we'll have that coming up real soon. Also, if we're going to have guests coming up soon, too. Yes, we're going to have guests coming up. I am very excited about this. We're going to have guests coming up soon. Very, very soon we're going to have guests. Roxy Astor of Glow. She's going to come on. She's going to talk about the Afterglow fan party. We're very excited to hear her talk more about that. You know, we've been plugging the Afterglow fan party. We've been talking about her DVD of the Afterglow fan party. We've been saying if you order it from us, you get the DVD signed by Roxy, personalized by Roxy, so it's not some faux signature. It's not some, replica. It's not something that is pre-signed or anything like that. You get it straight from Roxy, so that's very cool. And the Afterglow fan party is basically exactly what it says, really. Everyone wanted to know, 20 years later, where are the Glow Girls? Where are they at? And Roxy went and, created her own thing. She got together with all the Glow Girls after the official Glow documentary. She got in touch with as many of the Glow Girls as she could. She got them all together with Mondo Guerrero, with Johnny C. She got everyone back together and had a big party. A totally uncensored Q&A where you go talk to the girls, get up on stage with the girls. It's for the fans. It's by the Glow Girls. I'm looking forward to bringing Roxy to Chicago. I told her I would personally get her a venue somewhere. If she could get some Glow Girls here, I'd love to see it. I saw the DVD. The DVD was awesome. It was great, brilliant. Loved every second of it. Some great extras too. Just a really low-key thing for the fans. None of this press conference heavily edited. Just anything goes, and just a lot of fun. And so we hope to have Roxy on here to talk in greater detail about the Afterglow fan party. And while I'm talking about the Afterglow fan party, let's talk about the Afterglow Fan Party Cruise. Hey, Carnival Cruise Lines is sponsoring the Afterglow Fan Party Cruise. It's going to be Carnival Cruise Lines. Let me go and pull up the information here real quick. It is going to be in 2016, so there's still time to get your tickets for it. It is, let me pull it up here real quick. So it is May 22nd through May, feels like 4 days. Yeah, through May 26th. So it's May 22nd to May 26th. That's a Sunday to a Thursday. It's next year. It's Long Beach, California, through and to Catalina, California, Ensenada, Mexico, back to Long Beach, so 4 nights. Plenty of room left still. The panel, cocktail party, autograph sessions, photo opportunities, special stuff with the Glow Girls. I'm going to try and book it. I'll tell you what, if I can get my lady to go with me, I think she'd be interested in this kind of thing. But I know that seats are filling up fast, so, make a decision on this thing. The website is aovacations.com/rw/cruise/5222. So it's going to be very, very cool. And they have on this website all the attractions, where you're going, and a lot of the historic sites and everything on this tour. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very interested in this personally. I'd go by my own if I could. If my lady don't want to go, I'm going, because this sounds cool. But I got to see how much it conflicts with the Color for Our Alley Club. But Staterooms are only, they range from about $400 to about $610 a person. So it's a little much, but, because that's just the stateroom. That's not necessarily any food or anything else, but it's no worse than anything else, and it's a great opportunity to be with the Glow Girls. So I think that's a great opportunity to be with the Glow Girls. And speaking of the Glow Girls, let's talk a little more about Glow, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. Let's talk a little bit more about them, because we also, besides Roxy Astor being a guest, we've also confirmed we're going to have another guest of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, the ever-gorgeous Sunny, the California girl. Sunny has agreed to go and be on our podcast as well. Believe me, it is much appreciated. I do not know how many people hear this. I wish that you would all email me at podcast@sfpincchicago.com. It would thrill the hell out of me to let me know how many people there. I want to get as many people as possible. This thing, Sunny the California girl, Roxy Astor, and one more guest. We've got another person confirmed too. So we've got 3 guests confirmed. All I've got to do is pin down some scheduling with these people, and we have it. Our 3rd guest upcoming is none other than undefeated mixed martial artist and pro wrestler Daniel Puder. We've been talking about Dan Puder. We've been talking about My Life, My Power, Dan's charity. And we're also going to talk a little more about Dan's charity, My Life, My Power right now, because you can go to Amazon.com and you can go to smile.amazon.com and you can support My Life, My Power when you shop on Amazon by going to the link smile.amazon.com/ch/45-409-5213. And every time you go on Amazon, if you use that link, Amazon's going to donate 0.5% of your entire purchase price, to My Life, My Power World, which is Dan Puder's charity, his anti-bullying charity. It's a great charity. We certainly support it. You're always going to hear plugs from My Life, My Power on this podcast. We hope to have Dan on here. We're going to talk about his mixed martial arts career. We're going to talk about his pro wrestling career, his $1 Million Tough Enough debut there. We're going to talk about his charity and what he's doing now. We're going to talk about all that stuff. We're also going to talk about chiropractic. Yes, it's not something you normally think, well, he's talking about chiropractic. No, you know what? Chiropractic helped me. It's not DDP yoga, but it did certainly help me by adding a whole lot of years to my running career by getting some chiropractic. I never thought that anything could do the wear and tear on my body from running. A lot of road races, running on cement, streets, and stuff like that. But chiropractic really did help me, and I think it could really help you. So you can head to Chiro1, ChiroOne.com, .net. I take it back, .net, Chiro1.net. I am in the office Loop 2, so you can go to any office. I know that there's other offices throughout the state of Illinois here, but again, chiropractic helped me out, so I think that it could definitely help you out. This isn't a paid ad. There's no script or anything like that. This is just kind of a public service announcement, call it. But they help me, and I think they could probably help you. And that's a shoot. I truly think that they could help you out. If I didn't believe in what they did, I wouldn't be yakking about it. Bottom line, it's like Steve Austin and his advertisers. I'm not going to talk about it if it's not something that is going to work. We're also going to talk about some other good friends of mine, the Wind Gypsies. the Wind Gypsies. We have Neil Holmquist, we have Nick Laramie, we have Ray Class on the bass, Nick Laramie on guitars, Neil Holmquist on the drums. These guys are a great band. Power trio, obviously, because there are only 3 guys, right? Makes sense. These guys have performed all over the world. They do a lot. They're Chicago-based. They do a lot of original songs, a lot of covers. They do a little bit of both, but they really are a fantastic band. Good friends of mine. No advertising budget. They're not paying me for this. Hey, if you want to chuck money at me, chuck money at me. I will be happy to take your payday. Believe me. I'm doing this because these people are my friends. These are people I personally believe in. That's why I'm giving them airtime on my podcast. So head to Wind Gypsies. That's Wind, W-I-N-D, Gypsies, GYPSYS.com, and check them out. They've got some great songs. I personally am a huge fan. I love their original song that they have. I forget what it is, but they say that it's a true story based on lies and allegations. So that's a great. They got that North Kenmore Blues. That's the song. I know it was something. North Kenmore Blues. So that is it's based on lies and allegations. A true story based on lies and allegations. Great CD. Yes, I own the CD. Yes, I think it's a fantastic CD. The Wind Gypsies. WindGypsies.com. WindGypsYS.com. Check them out. They're great guys. You will enjoy their music. I assure you. And your money back on this podcast if you don't like the music. How about that? So they one of their songs, Ode to DB, North Kenmore Blues. So this is their first CD of all original music. They have some great stuff. Their guitarist, Nick Laramie, they're always adding new stuff. What I like is, they do a lot of great stuff. It's more than your standard cover. Nick Laramie, their guitarist, when he's doing Hendrix songs, he's doing Hendrix. He's picking a guitar with his teeth. He's doing it behind his back. He's doing all sorts of great stuff. These are some great, talented people. Check them out. Please check them out. You'd be doing them a great favor. And hey, you might catch me there too. These are some great guys. Also, we've got K.D. Cormican. You've heard about her novel, Whatever Makes You Blind. Well, Whatever Makes You Blind is her first original novel, and she's working on a new one. But we're going to keep on plugging this until she tells us to stop to plug her new one. But check it out. You can get it on Kindle and Amazon. You can get it from the publisher. Just check out K.D. Cormican or Kimberly Cormican or Whatever Makes You Blind. Any of the above. You'll find it. It's in digital format. You can find it in paperback. I have it in hardcover because I'm a hardcover kind of snob. But in any case, it's a great book, great novel. Again, Kim is not paying me anything for this. I'm doing this because I believe in her book and I believe in her. And I think it's a great book, great novel, and I think you should check it out. So, anyway, in any case, I think that brings us to another end. So, check us all out. We're on social media. Check us out at facebook.com/SFPINC Chicago. Google up Shadowfire Promotions. You'll find everything we have. We have Twitter, twitter.com/SFPINC Chicago. If you have any questions about any merchandise we sell, if you want to sell us something, if you have any questions whatsoever about that, email us at orders@sfpinchicago.com. If you are a pro wrestler, if you're a mixed martial arts fighter, if you run a wrestling promotion or a mixed martial arts promotion, and you want us to carry your merchandise, you want us to help you out and carry your stuff and get some plugs here, email us at distribution, different email address, distribution@sfpinchicago.com. If you've got any questions about our podcast, you want to be a guest in our podcast, anything, you have a comment about the podcast, email us at podcast@sfpinchicago.com. And as always, you can find our site at sfpinchicago.com. So I think that brings us to the end of another show. We're closing in at just about an hour and a half here, which is a real good time. We covered a lot of ground from Vince McMahon and World Wrestling Entertainment to television to the Ultimate Fighting Championship to pro wrestling and the monster Kane versus Brock Lesnar and my client Brock Lesnar against the Undertaker. The Undertaker returning at SummerSlam. Tracy Brooks, Roddy Piper, SummerSlam, Ronda Rousey, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. We've covered so much ground, and I'm really excited here. So make sure to tune in next week. Next week we'll have another podcast. Until then, I will see you front row ringside. Take it easy, boys and girls. I will see you next week.